Alright, in this video, I want to talk about something interesting I was seeing in the book of Hosea. But before I do, I'd like to ask a favor of you. I know if you like my channel, you like the video, you like the content, then I don't have to tell you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. You'll do that on your own, right? But if you think that I'm giving you the Word of God, I'm giving you the truth here, you think God's with me in this ministry here, I'd just like to ask you to share the bread, pass it around. God multiplies just a couple loaves and can feed many, but you just got to pass it along. Because I'm using this channel because my other one on YouTube had 2 strikes. I didn't want to get a 3rd strike from something stupid and get shut down. So I'm kind of starting from scratch over here on this channel. I don't have the same subscribers. So help me out, help others out, pass it along. With that being said, let's get into this here. In Hebrews chapter 6, verses 1 and 2 say, "Come and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us, and the 3rd day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight." When I was reading this, I was like, okay, yeah, the Lord tore up and smitten Israel in 70 AD through the Roman Empire. Then it says here, after 2 days he will revive us, and the 3rd day he will raise us up. And I was like, okay, well, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8 says, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as a day." And you might be familiar with that, and how we have a 7,000-year timeline given to us in Genesis, the creation week. And I will use Hosea 6 here as the example of that, where Hosea and 6 give us 6 letters and a number, right? Together there's 6 symbols here. So this is like the 6,000 years of the creation week, and then there's a Sabbath, right? We'll just use this arrow here where it says Hosea 7. That's the Sabbath. So each letter would be 1,000 years, and then a Sabbath rest, right? So in the depiction here, this is when Israel was destroyed in 70 AD. So that would be like 4,000 years have passed. Then there would be 2,000 years. Then they're going to be revived. And then in the 3rd day, the last 1,000 years, as it says here, in the 3rd day he will raise us up and we shall live in his sight. That's the millennium reign. That's where Jesus is going to reign as king in Jerusalem, in Israel. That's where they're going to live in his sight. So I decided to come over here to the calculator, and I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, let's see if we can figure this out. I was like, that doesn't make sense, right? Because, let me hit clear on this. Israel was established 1948, 1949. We're just going to go with 1948. And if we minus 70 AD, right, that is 1,878 years from 70 AD. That's not 2,000 years, right? That doesn't make sense. But what we need to realize is that in the scriptures, 1 year actually equals 360 days. And every month is 30 days. And there's 12 months, right? So if we're going to take the 2,000 years biblically, we need to get rid of something here. You see, the Gregorian calendar uses a year that is 365 and a quarter days long. That's why every 4 years it equals an extra day. You have 366 days, right? So that's 5 extra days, and then sometimes 6 extra days every year. So that doesn't quite add up, right? So we got to do a little bit of math here. So let's take 2,000 years. That is prophetically 360-day years. So what we're going to do is take 2,000 years. We're going to multiply that by 360, which gives us 720,000 days, prophetic days, right? So now we got to actually put this into the Gregorian calendar. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to divide these prophetic years by 365.25 days, right? To see how many years it would equal to in the Gregorian calendar. So we see here that it's 1971.25. All right, so 1,971 years and a quarter of a year. So about 3 months, right? So what does this have to do with anything? Well, if we take 1971, and that's 2,000 years from 70 AD, what year would we get? Well, we would have to add 70 to it because we're not starting at year 0. It's 2041. So that's when they would be restored. Now, this is not exactly it because the Gregorian calendar, I'm not even sure when that actually started. Before that, there was the Julian calendar, which was different. So this is not exact, right? Not exact at all. So we get another witness here that things are going to be happening pretty soon, because we see the Messiah is going to establish Israel, and in the third day they're going to live with him. So this might be sometime around 2041. But again, keep in mind the calendars are off, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint the exact year. But this was around the same time that I came to, I think it was 2039, that I came to using Daniel's time frame that he gave us in Daniel chapter 12, where it was about, this is not the exact year, but let's say it was the year. 700 AD is when the Dome of the Mosque was established in Jerusalem. That would be the abomination of desolation there. And then if we actually added 1,335 days to it, a day for a year, we get to 2035. So it's within 6 years of what I was just calculating from Hosea, right? But of course, that's prophetic years, right? It's not the same. It's not the same as the years we got because the years are off by 5 days, and that adds up, especially after 2,000 years. So it's just to give you an example here. Let's say we got 5 days added in a year, right? From the, let's do the full thing. 5 and a quarter days added to the year from so this is the difference between the prophetic year of 360 days and the Gregorian calendar. It has 5 1/4 extra days, right? So if we times that by 2,000, we get 10,500 days. To understand how many that is prophetically, let's divide it by 360, and that's 29 extra years. 29 extra years. So that's how much it can be off, by 29 years. But you see, this isn't completely accurate because we haven't always been using the Gregorian calendar. So let's actually look that up real quick. When was the Gregorian calendar adopted? Let's go with adopted. 1700s apparently. Just looking at this quick search. Some of it is different. I see one 1699 seems to be the earliest. That's, I guess, when it started being used. So that's actually relatively recent. Relatively recent. And you want to know what makes things difficult? Check out this Julian calendar. This one is like, how the heck did they understand this? Let's see if I can find, let's go to images. Let's do this one here, open in a new tab. All right, so this is how they did their sequencing here. They didn't, you see in January, it's January 1st all the way to 31st, right? So that seems very simple. But when they come to February, they don't start at day 1, it starts at day 32, right? And that goes to day 60, at least on a leap year. And then March starts at day 60 or 61, depending on the year, and goes to day 90. And in December, the last day of December is day 365. So it's not lined up the same way, so it's a little bit confusing looking at this. But it's still very similar in the actual days. I think the thing is that I'm not sure if this is accurate because I don't recall them using 365 1/4 day years. So I'm not sure exactly how they did that. Let's just see if we can find some information on it. Day. Let's go to all. Common year in the June calendar is 365 days divided into 12 months. Yeah, see, I don't think they had that quarter day. And that doesn't seem like much, but let's go back to the calculator. So if we have 0.25, and we're using the Julian calendar, let's say for 1700 years, because that seems to be around the time the Gregorian took over. That's 425 days. And in Gregorian calendar, that's a year and a third, roughly, right? So that's how much it would be off. But then with about the same amount of time using a prophetic year, so it's still off a little bit. So it's hard to pinpoint, right? I mean, we would have to take, this is how much it would be off with the Gregorian. So let me type in the years here, clear this. So when I got the year 2004, right, 41, it's off a year, right? So that'd be actually be 40 or 42, right? And I'm not even sure if this whole time they were using the Julian calendar either. And I don't know if, like, the dates that we have set for when Jesus was crucified and the destruction of Jerusalem. I'm assuming, yes, we're using the Roman calendar at that time. But how has the dates changed through history with the different countries using different calendars? Like, how has that affected everything? But I think we can just get a rough idea from the couple of videos I was getting into here using Daniel chapter 12 and Hosea 6, that we have a time between 2030, let's just do a dash here, and 2040. That seems to be around the time that Jesus would return and set up Israel officially, according to God, not according to man, and that he'll set up the millennial kingdom. Somewhere we're in the time frame. So I'm just going to say within 20 years. I know people want it to be the next couple of years, and it could be, right? I don't know how close this is. It just seems to be within this time. And I don't know how far off the calendars are, so I don't know if you would add or subtract 5 years from this. So it would be 2025 to 2045, right? So it could be very soon. I'm thinking that the way the world's going with economic collapse seem to be pending, and World War III seemed to be pending, and a change of the world order and the change of the world currency. It seems like it's going to be shifted to something digital. Everything's just changing, and it seems like it can happen within the next few years. It could start right now, right? So that would still be pretty dang close, right? With all the calendar changes, and it seems to be 2030 is the earliest. We're 7 years away from that. So with all the calendar changes, being 7 years off of human error, that's not too bad, I guess. But it's still guesstimation. Uh, I think other people should be looking into this, because I think a lot of the Rapture people are looking at the feast days. They're looking at the time of the year, right? And it's like, how about you first narrow down the year, okay? What about the year? What year? A lot of these guys are pretty smart, and they figure these things out. All right, well then do the same thing with the year. With the year. Narrow that down. Let's do that. So, thanks for watching and take care.